Sebi, what a sensational performance out there today. Congratulations. It was awesome to watch. Let's start from the top. Thought you executed right from the start. Amazing strategy. What was the aim going in?
Yeah, the aim was there's a lot of things. I think the two main ones were the commitment and belief. I was reading my Bible this morning. Mark 9:23. Anyone who believes, all is possible to the one who believes. So,
Sebi, come on.
So that was the only thing I was thinking in my head was the whole entire time. Even I was going to control whatever I could control on my side. I was going to be positive. I was going to be committed. I was a little too committed on that break point to go up double break in the second set. I was like, I'd take it a little easy. But yeah, I was talking a lot with Ryan as well, and just felt when I was playing these top guys I was spraying a little bit too much. I was going for things that I don't really need to, and try to be more, in words, average. Not trying to hit screamers out of nowhere, and just use the pace that I have on my ball, and be committed to go to the net as much as possible, and not let him dictate, because then I'm in trouble.
Well, it seemed like you were doing a lot of the stuff out there that Carlos does to a lot of guys. I mean, you brought out every shot in the book. You mixed in getting into the net, which is beautiful to watch. How much was variety a big part of what you needed to do today?
Yeah, massive. I didn't want him standing in one corner and just batting balls away. I wanted him moving. I didn't want to move. I wanted him moving, and I didn't really want him running around his forehand or running around his backhand and hitting forehands too much. Because it's so tricky after. He hides it so well. You have no idea where it's going. And then he starts playing the dropper a little bit, and then the ball's on his racket. And I wanted to put it back on my racket. I wanted to be aggressive, but in a controlled way, not redlining and going for screamers out of nowhere, and try to get to the net as much as possible. Even though he was hitting at my feet every single time, I knew that was the only way that I could upset him or get into his head a little bit, and just commitment and just keep going forward, keep going at it.
I love seeing you up at the net. Life is so much about how we react to things that happen to us, and it got tense there in the second set when you were close to getting off the court. You weren't able to. In that moment, how did you react to yourself?
Yeah, I thought back a lot. One on the belief.
Yeah.
I'd go back to that. But another thing that I think helped me a ton is I've gone through a lot of, played a lot of great players and haven't been able to get it done. I've gotten myself into winning positions, but just haven't been able to cross that line. And I think looking back at it, one of the best matches that's really helped me is against Taylor in Dallas. I was up I think 5-2 in the third set breaker, and just learning from those situations, learning what I could have done better, and I feel like I've done it pretty well in these last couple weeks. Obviously I had a tough one in Indian Wells against Demon R, but still learning from that match, and then applying it today, and luckily crossed the line at the end.
Listen, man, witnessing something like that, it's something that inspires everyone who watches sport. It was beautiful to see you come through. How has the relationship been with Ryan been? The success has come pretty quick since you guys have started working together.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. He obviously, it's great that he was a former player as well, so he understands kind of what you go through during a match. He knows the stress that you go through, and it's been a lot of fun. We've done a really a lot of emphasis in ripping my forehand a little bit more, going after it a little bit. A lot of the times I'd kind of get bullied on that side. Yeah. And now I'm trying to bully, other people with my forehand. So I feel like, I've done a good job with that. Obviously, hitting my spots a little bit better, and then, get into the net as much as possible has been key for us.
Aside from that small section towards the end of the second set, were you aware? I'm not sure if you've gone over stats. The miles per hour were up quite a bit on your forehand today.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't checked any stats. I knew I was serving really well. I was trying to come to the net as much as possible. But yeah, any time I had a forehand, I was just swinging at it. Wasn't thinking. Was kind of in a flow state, and that's kind of where you want to be when you're a tennis player. It's just kind of flowing out there, playing. I did get a little tight at 5-4 in the second. I'm not going to lie.
Hey, it happens. But, you handled it great, though.
That's why one of the reasons he's so great. He applies that pressure, and you can really feel that. And I just did a great job, I think, with resetting. After getting into the third set and getting back to battling and taking care of my serve.
Yeah, you really did. Forehand, best it's looked, certainly. Your Pops does not show a lot of emotion, even though he can be a very funny guy. What did Pops say to you after the match?
Pops was pumped. He was pumped. A lot of the times when he's watching my match, he gets super loud and into it, and he loves it.
They had some cutaways when you were so close, and he was just, just straight laced.
No, I mean it's awesome having him here. Him and Ryan work really well as well. Obviously, my dad knows me the best, and Ryan, I think he's done a great job, and any question or anything that he might have, he always goes to my dad, and they talk it through, and then obviously Ryan's the main voice, but my dad's just kind of in the background in any way he can help.
When you were out for quite some time, it was brutal for us to see it because we know how much talent and potential you have. You come back, and I know you always talk yourself into, I got it, I have all the shots out there. How validating is something like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's you know how it is. You have an injury, you're out for a long time. You lose that competitive feeling a little bit, and then you're just kind of trying to find it. I spent, I don't know how it is, since like 2022, I've averaged like 3 or 4 months of not playing. So, that's a pretty big gap. Luckily I've always, done really well in certain tournaments, but then kind of, went away for most of the year. And, I think just trying to find that consistency is massive for me. Trying to, get on a practice court as much as possible, get in the gym like you. Come on, man. Come on, man. Look at you.
We need a gym session and some golf.
Man. There we go. I don't know what we're doing here right now. I mean, we can knock out both of them right now, but just trying to stay consistent as much as possible. Keep believing, keep playing, and getting myself into these stressful situations are only going to help me.
Absolutely awesome stuff, my man. Keep it rolling. Stay healthy. Love everything you're doing on the court.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks.
Sebastian Korda, ladies and